Hello, radiant souls. Hello, Kate. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Devotional Drip, episode 11, How to Meet Your Blocks as Portals. Meeting blocks as portals. Drop a hello, hell yes, heaven yes in the chat if you could use a little more malleability, flexibility, breath, and spaciousness with whatever blocks or perceived blocks are presenting themselves as portals within your path at this time. Welcome, everyone. My name is Sarah. I'm a higher self-embodiment doula, multi-passionate artist, entrepreneur, coach, and consultant, and I offer somatic, artful, and spiritual portals into self-care, self-healing, self-expression, spiritual awakening, and higher self-embodiment. The Devotional Drip is a free weekly higher self-embodiment and personal development coaching series for creatives, leaders, visionaries, and light workers looking to ignite their higher self connection, embody their higher self expression, and get inspired around their multi-dimensional self-care practice across the altars of their personal and professional life. Because we know that self-care doesn't just stop at the altar in our homes. We practice at the altar in our homes. We show up to meet ourselves daily so that when it comes to showing up and meeting the altar of our lives and sometimes those blocks that present themselves, we can do that from a place of feeling connected, resourced, anchored, and plugged into the well of wisdom that is always within us. Today we have again episode 11 of the Devotional Drip, How to Meet Your Blocks as Portals. We're going to be going live every Monday at 12 o'clock p.m. And a replay is always going to be available for the newsletter coven. So if you have not subscribed yet, you can do so below at the link in the description to receive exclusive offers, replays, and corresponding somatic journal movement prompts and a practice playlist to support you in integrating, digesting, and applying what comes forward for you through this episode. And also, last thing, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not already by clicking the subscribe button below, and you can click the little bell. I'm not sure which side it's on mirror-wise, but you can click the bell below to receive notifications when we go live and when a new video drops. And actually, last thing I want to say before we jump in is that the cart just opened on an epic 3-day virtual higher self-embodiment experience. I'm going to drop the link for that below in the description. So if you want to hear more about that, it's going to be hosted March 4th through 6th in the Blood, Bone, and Honey Zoom temple. So it is available worldwide. And I'm going to talk about that at the end of this drip. So if you're interested, stay tuned. And if you'd like to read more, again, I will drop a link in the description below. And the newsletter will also receive an invitation later this afternoon. So if you're on the newsletter list, you're also going to receive it. All right. Today's topic, now that we got all the goods out of the way, happy drip day, happy drip day. Yes, we've got some lovies in the comments. Woohoo, here we are, meeting our blocks as portals. So before we tune into what can be a high sensation conversation around blocks, we're just going to do our little body scan. We did this last week on last week's drip where we tuned into the light in the center of our hearts and we just let that light scan our bodies to just a little self-check-in to see how we're doing today. That was a lot of information that just came through. Perhaps you're feeling really excited. Maybe you had a busy morning. So just taking maybe, 3 to 5 breaths to allow yourself to land, arrive, and tune in from your inner awareness as I introduce the first part of the concept of meeting your blocks as portals. So dropping into a space to receive. When you're connected to your breath, you're connected to your receptivity. So inhaling through the nose, inhaling into the belly, filling up the body, oxygenating the being with your breath. And then exhaling and maybe even making an audible sound, maybe even shaking out the shoulders if you've been on the computer, maybe you've been a little hunched over. Open up the heart, open up the chest, open up the breath. You can even give yourself a little bit of self touch here to say, hello, body. Here we are, landing in a specific point in time and space to receive. We're talking about blocks today. So, in order to receive this transmission at the body level and investigate from the body, tune into the breath and the body now. Allowing yourself to arrive. So, as you're here, I'm going to invite you to just visualize your inner landscape as a garden. So, your inner being is a garden, and you're the gardener of your being, and you're just tuning in to see what feels stuck or crunchy on a physical level, on an emotional level, on an energetic or a spiritual level. And just do some research. Do some inner research right now. Maybe you even feel called to move your body a little bit. If you find some stuckness, maybe in the sacrum at the bottom of the spine or in the heart, you open up the arms and give yourself a breath. If you haven't stretched today, maybe stretching your fingers up and reaching to the sky, expanding the arms out and brushing the tips of the aura. Maybe taking a breath and calling all of your energy back to the center of your spine, back to the center of your heart. And maybe as you do that, that light within your heart grows brighter. And this next time you go to do that inner scan, you're able to pick up a little more information because you're settled, because you've arrived. So the prompt that we're going to start out with is what's feeling stuck or crunchy within you? What's already sort of registering as the block? Maybe you've been in some deep, intimate practice with this and you know what it is for you right now. But even if you feel like you know what you know, like even if you feel like you already know, like here's my block, this is my thing, this is what I'm always working on. I'm going to invite you to drop that story and meet whatever feels stuck, meet whatever feels crunchy, meet whatever feels tender in a new way, from a new perspective, from a perspective of presence and non-judgment and compassion. To view and look at yourself as your higher self is to operate from that eagle eye witness vision. So you're scanning from that place. You're scanning from a place of doing inventory, from claiming that you have a right to find what feels stuck within you, and then be with that in order to open and transform the stuckness into something new, into something different. Let me know in the comments if you're feeling like this call to relate to your life and your journey and your experience in a new way, or even how that's been for you recently. We've got psoas is tight right now in the comments. Yeah, so maybe even Marissa coming into like a squat while we talk about this. One of my favorite ways to get into that squat and get into that psoas is to actually hold on to something. So if you've got like a table or a couch or a piece of furniture you can put your hands on, and then drop your booty down, drop that sacrum down, and practice shifting the sacrum up and back to create opening in the psoas and the inner thigh. So if you want to drop into a squat, if you want to get into some movement while listening to this, I find for myself sometimes it's actually more easeful for me to get in touch with what's there for me and receive information coming in if I'm breathing in my physical body and actually bringing a little bit of movement in. Sometimes you'll even see me do some circles on my bolster that I'm sitting on. And that's how I stay connected to my pelvic floor while I'm speaking. So we're speaking from the body, we're sharing from the body, we're investigating from the body. All right, let me pull up my little notes over here so I can see you and see my notes at the same time. All right, so invitation 1 to meeting your blocks as portals. The The first way I'm going to invite you to do this is to shift your relationship with the block. The ally card that came forward for us today, and we only have one today, is Entwined. This is from the Faceted Earth deck. I'm going to hold this up quite a few times during our talk today, so we'll bring that back again. So Entwined is the card that came forward, and to entwine is to interweave. When I pulled this card, what I heard was to invite you to be clear in your relationship with your life, to be clear in your relationship with your life, and to understand that all of it is related and interwoven, but not in a way that sparks overwhelm, in a way that invites you into the understanding that there is an intelligent interconnectedness that's happening beyond cerebral understanding. There is an intricate intelligence happening beyond cerebral understanding. To intertwine is to interweave. When you decide that your block is a portal, when you just make that decision, like it's like, well, how do I meet my blocks as portals? Number one, you've got to decide, you've got to choose. I am someone who operates in my life, in relationship to my life, that anything that comes up on my path that feels like a block or feels disempowering or feels scary or feels tender or feels overwhelming or feels like maybe even like it's like this is the end for me. Like I can't eat. This is so thick for me right now. This is so dense for me right now. I can't even move through it. If you've already made the agreement with yourself that you are a sovereign being who meets your blocks as portals, and there is an intelligence interconnectedness in your life and where you are on your path, and all of it is actually interwoven as a part of your journey, as a part of your ascension, as a part of your rising. Look at all this circular interweaving, dimensional interweaving happening here. When you decide that, when you decide I'm a person who meets my blocks as portals, and that's just a part of my magic, that's just a part of my practice, what becomes possible? What becomes possible when you choose to understand? Listen to that language. Choose to understand. Choose to understand that you are in relationship with this block. You are in relationship with this block, whether you like it or not. Like it's already in your life. It's already presenting itself. You are in relationship with it. So the first invitation is to shift that relationship into a relationship of empowerment, into a relationship of agency, where you're clear about your relationship with your life. You're clear that this is a journey. You're clear about the intricate interwovenness of all things, and maybe how one of my teachers said this to me one time and it blew my socks off. Maybe how there's some things you're not supposed to understand or know until you're in your crone phase, until you're 80 years old, if that's the path of your life and you live that long. Like, what if not all of it is meant to be understood right now, but there's this sensual, intelligent interweaving and trusting that you're called into. And there's actually a faith. There's a texture of faith that precedes the trust. That faith is your decision to choose to meet your blocks as portals. So prompt number one, I will link this in the replay for the newsletter with the blog and the journal prompts as always. But prompt number one, while we're here, tuning into that inner landscape, tuning into where the stuckness might be right now, tuning into where the crunchiness might be right now, tuning into where there could be a little sunshine, a little water. Maybe there's stuff that's unfreezing right now. I walked up into the meadow yesterday in our backyard, and we live in upstate New York, and there's still snow on the ground, and there was like sheets of ice and then this grass, this life popping through. So maybe when you tune in right now, especially if you're in the northern hemisphere or in a place that's cold, like maybe there's stuff within you that's actively thawing out right now. And how can you let that make sense even seasonally? Like, let that make sense seasonally with your life. The prompt is, what becomes possible or clear when I meet this block as a portal, inviting me into more of my power? How often, I know this is true for me, have you met a block where it's like, oh, this block is here to disempower me, it's here to take everything away from me, there's no way I can move it up this mountain, this must be the end for me. How many times have I said that to myself? Let me know if you can relate to that in the chat. Um, so when we decide and when we meet this block as a portal into our power, and we choose every time we choose, this is for me to access more of my power. This block, actually, when I sit with it and when I hold space for it, which is our next invitation that we're going to move into, it actually starts to transform. When I no longer project onto it that it's this horrible thing here to disrupt and dysregulate and ruin my life and my relationships and my career and whatever, and it's actually this invitation, this ripe, potent portal of self-initiation into power. Like, how much more exciting does life become? How much more exciting does life become? Like, that to me feels delicious. It's like, oh, like, I get to meet this, I get to make something with this. This is not this impenetrable wall that cannot be broken through. Wow, when I start to empower myself in my relationship to my blocks, let me see how that empowers myself in my relationship with my life. And then how does meeting my blocks and what feels tender within me like this shift my relationship to how I meet the other things showing up as at the altar of my life? And what I found in myself and witnessing my clients walk through this is, you start to get stoked. Like, you start to get in the seat of your power and you're like, fuck yeah, like, I can meet this, I can move through this, I got this. Oh, another invitation into my power. No biggie, let's fucking go. Because I believe that life is here for me, and I believe that every block is here to serve me. Because everything in life is here to serve me. It is here to serve my highest good, my highest awakening, my highest unraveling, my highest opening. And when you embody that in your soma, in your being, in your life, you become this magnetic presence. And everyone in your life who you come in contact with gets touched by that. I want to call it like, it's like an intelligence. It's like the embodiment of a spiritual knowing. It feels good to be in the presence of people who believe that everything is happening for them, who feel empowered in their capacity to meet what's on their path. And that doesn't mean that we also don't talk about when it feels hard and crunchy. Like, of course we hold space for that. Of course we hold space in the sacred space of our practice to do the conscious dump and let it all out, because when we follow that trail, when we follow the trail of grief or anger or anxiety or whatever it is, whatever that sensation arising in the body is, and we hold space and we stay there with it, it brings us to a well of wisdom. It brings us to a well of wisdom if we're willing to let go of the story of, this always happens to me, this is how it always goes, oh, here we go again. Meeting your blocks with fresh eyes will change your life. So invitation number 1, to meet your blocks as portals, shift your relationship with the block. How's that resonating? How's that landing? How's that feeling so far for those of you who are here live and tuning into the replay? Oh, I'm so glad that feels good. I'm so glad that feels good. Thank you for the roses. Okay, so invitation number 2 for meeting your blocks as portals. I love this one. I'm like in like a big team energy right now. So team up with your block. Invitation number 2 to meet your blocks as portals. Team up with that bee. Team up with that bee. How would you treat a member of your team that, again, you were co-creating and co-working with and entwined with, interwoven with on your path? We're going upwards. We're going upwards. This block is part of it. What if you and this block are actually co-conspiring with your higher self to bring you closer to your Piscean vision, perhaps, and goal? But in order to move that needle forward, what if teaming up with this block and befriending it and owning it as yours and making love to it and building systems around it and no longer hiding or pretending or acting like it's not there. It's either like acting like it's not there or acting like it's the biggest deal in the world. What's the in between space? To team up with your blocks is to hold space for them to quite literally teach you. Your blocks are teachers to teach you and show you how and where you're ready to grow and glow. Again, bringing us towards our empowerment, not farther away from it. The block as a portal is bringing us towards our empowerment, towards our higher self-expression. When we hold space for that block, and this is actually true in energy medicine as well, when we hold space for that block, when we hold space for it and we just be with it, without trying to fix it, which we're going to go into in invitation 3, when we just hold space for this, we create space for transformation to occur, because again, we're not projecting onto it, we're not telling the block what it is, we're letting it reveal to us what it is. And through that revealing, in that in-between process, in that process of self-investigation, that block in that moment, in that space, becomes the portal. It becomes the portal as it reveals itself to you in a different light through your willingness to hold space for it, to not boss it around, to not boss yourself around, to not tell it what it is, but just to listen and to be with and to hold space. When I am doing energy work with people, and I find a space in their system that's experiencing some blockage, the first invitation is to always hold space, to just meet that person, meet that sensation, meet that energy where it is in full presence, because that presence creates the space for alchemy, clearing, transformation. But we have to get still with it. We have to stop throwing darts and daggers on it and back off a little bit, back off of ourselves, back off of the block, and then listen to what it has to tell us about how it's here to bring us closer to our empowerment. What do you feel like that makes possible for you? If you'd like to drop in the chat, please feel free to. What becomes possible when you team up with this block and you hold space for it? When we're dealing with blocks, we're going from misalignment to alignment and resonance. Look at how aligned this card is. Look at how much intricacy, intelligence, harmonic convergence, co-creation, symbiosis is happening here. Entwined, interwoven, working together with, in relationship with. The journey of healing, the journey of moving through your blocks, the journey of awakening doesn't just look like point A to point B. We are deprogramming that linear process of the way that we have been conditioned to believe healing should look like. When you see the block from the inner eye of your heart, and maybe again you just decide to tune in this moment and meet that block now after a little bit of conversation, after a little bit of inquiry and investigation together around it. When you tune in and meet that block from the inner eye of your heart and your higher self, and you fall in love with the fact that this is yet another part of your journey and the expression of your being that you get to steward and disciple yourself through the discipline, through the self-discipline, to meet it from a place of empowerment. The block becomes less bitter because you've added the sweetness of your presence, the sweetness of your breath, the sweetness of your self-touch, the sweetness of opening up your journal and writing down what's coming up for you. I'm getting goosebumps like all over my body. Like, that is so sweet. And I also feel called to speak into the space. Like, if you are, as many people within the Blood, Bone, and Honey Coven space are, a survivor of any kind of trauma, to hold space for yourself, to facilitate a space, to tune into the inner landscape of you so that you can feel empowered in your outer expression and how you meet your life, that is so courageous. That is so courageous. And if you haven't told yourself recently, if nobody's told you recently, I am so proud of you. And thank you for taking care of you. Thank you for taking care of you. It is such a big deal that you're choosing to take care of yourself. Thank you for taking care of yourself. Prompt 2, looking through the inner eye of your heart and higher self. The prompt is, how can I play more higher self tag team? Notice the word play with my block as a part of my process of empowerment. I just added that last part of empowerment. I'm going to write that in my notes so I don't forget for the blog. How can I play more higher self tag team? We're playing tag team. We're entwined. We're interwoven. Pass it off to you, pass it off to me, working together. We're getting it done. How can I play more higher self tag team with my block, with my blocks, with what feels tender, with what feels crunchy, with what feels hard right now, as a part of my process of empowerment and embodiment and expression for that matter? Yeah. So maybe drop in the chat if you feel called. What's feeling a little more possible right now? Maybe you've gone from a 10 to a 7. Maybe it's felt like, man, this feels really hard and I don't know how to meet this, into, okay, like I have a little bit more of a sense of how I could meet my life and this block in a different way, not just for the experience of doing that, but as a representation of how I'm ready to meet the altar of my whole life. Practice with your blocks, watch how it transcribes, transforms, and trickles out into your relationships with others and with your soul mission. Your relationship with yourself, your relationship with others, and your relationship with your soul mission. Changing and shifting your relationship with your blocks, when the water starts flowing and the portal becomes malleable and transient and accessible versus impenetratable, that watery essence is going to flow out and hydrate all of these altars. And what is water? What does water bring? And there's actually quite a bit of water in this card. And there's also like these leaves that are growing. We've got like earth and water playing together with the snake rising. Water represents the potential of creation. Water we can relate to as this amniotic fluid of the cosmos, and it's also what we're at least 70% made of. So all of this water is within us, and all of this water we have the capacity to resource energetically. So where do you need to rinse? Where do you need to renew? Where do you need to just let the higher self waters of self-compassion wash through your system to create space for potential, which is to turn your block into a portal? Invitation number 3, meeting your blocks as portals. This is such a good one. Stop trying to fix the block. I know if you're tuning into this drip, you are intelligent, you are highly creative, you are highly sensitive. You can come up with a million different solutions probably for one thing, except when you feel incredibly blocked and then it feels like the whole world is crumbling. I see you, witch. Or maybe you have a slightly different or completely different relationship to that. But if that's you, if you're a fixer like me, which a lot of helpers are, right? Like a lot of healers and coaches and facilitators and light workers and leaders are, have a certain kind of relationship to fixing. Invitation number 3, meeting our blocks as portals. Stop trying to fix the block. Let go of needing to know. Let go of needing to know. Again, it is the faith that precedes the trust. When you're in fixing, you may also find yourself in comparison, looking outside of you to see what other people are doing, to see if you're doing it right. And let me tell you, my love, comparison is the thief of joy. And it is also the thief of your genius and your brilliance and how you maybe would have done it if you didn't see that the other person was doing it that way. And then because of some old program around the way you should do things, that's now disrupting the way that you are in your process. So when you're needing to fix, you're usually also in When you are in the need to fix, you're usually in some self-comparison to, there we go. Sometimes you gotta sing it out, open the block, um, and get excited about what's on your own altar and plate. So you don't even have time to be like, what is someone else doing? Like, of course, we're like creating space in our life so we can tune in, celebrate, check in, see what the coven's up to. But it's not from this place of like, well, what are they doing? Am I doing it right? Do I need to do it different? What way should I be doing it? Especially now in this landscape of like, I started my business when there was no like digital marketing online resources on Instagram. Now it's like every couple scrolls, there's like a new something that's like, do it this way, change your thing, blah, blah, blah. And so we need to keep our eyes on our own paper. We need to keep our eyes on our own paper and get done what we need to get done, so then we can create space in our life for more pleasure, more play, more flow. And of course, that can also happen, as we've discussed, in our relationship to doing our own work in the first place. So there's an invitation here, and I actually, this is one of the first things I heard when I pulled this card, is to, the invitation here is to not become enmeshed with the block itself, or other people's energy and their process. So we've got entwined, right? And we've talked about how we can be in symbiotic relationship and intelligent, higher self, authoritative relationship with the block. But there's also this potential sometimes to become enmeshed with the block, to get so hyper fixated and focused on it that you don't actually leave space for potential, or to become so enmeshed in someone else's energy and what they're doing and what they can give you or what they can't give you, or essentially like looking to fulfill your needs and desires and your dreams from outside of you. That enmeshment, that entwinement, that distraction is going to reduce the level of energy, spaciousness, and capacity that you have to meet what's right in front of you. So be mindful if the intertwining is becoming a little too tight. And maybe the invitation is to release the grip. To release the grip, which is also, dropping the story around the block. Again, if you know what your block is and this is your block and you've always worked with it, how can you back off a little bit and let it teach you something new this time? Just to reseed this, operating from the consciousness of your higher self when meeting your blocks is like having eagle eye and snake eye vision and heart vision at the same time. You're seeing, you're sensing, and you're feeling. Or actually, it wants to come through. You're seeing, you're feeling, and you're sensing from the guts. You're sensing from that belly wisdom. So it's not just you're looking around or you're closing your eyes and you're meditating and you're thinking in your brain. You're tuning into that third eye space. You're seeing. You're letting the block reveal and illuminate itself to you in a different way than you've received it before. You're feeling, you're letting the wisdom of your feeling lead you down the river and bring you to the well of wisdom that you need. And you're sensing the whole time. You're turning on your senses and you're activating your breath, and maybe you're even activating your taste and your smell. Recently, I found when I'm channeling, whether I'm working with like a multidimensional mentor or my higher self, or I'm resourcing some wisdom I've heard from like one of my mentors in this very real physical reality, it tastes different on my tongue. And this could bring us back to 2 drips ago, your throat is a temple and your words are spells. But for real, we talked about in that drip, and that would be a great one to combine with this, like how are you speaking about your life? What are you spelling into being? See what your higher self wisdom tastes like on your tongue. What does it feel like? Maybe when you're writing in your journal and you're channeling your higher self, you're doing some somatic writing through your body, through the portal of your heart with your higher self. Maybe your writing starts to change. Maybe the way your pen hits the paper. I notice for myself when I sit down to sort of go into that automatic writing or channel writing space, like it can be really like this, like if my energy is kind of like this, And then as I tune into my breath and as I drop into my body, the way that I'm writing changes, and my writing will start to, when I've hit that resonance that we all always have access to, that higher self resonance, that lens of potential and divine love and unconditional acceptance and unconditional compassion, when we, even if we're just getting a couple of trickles of that, the pen starts to move differently. Your voice starts to sound different. The words feel different on your tongue. So, operating from the consciousness of your higher self when meeting your blocks is like having the eagle eye vision, the snake eye vision, and the heart eye vision all at the same time. The wounded stories of the ego get to take a step back. They get to take a back seat and take a breath so that you get to explore, how would my life shift if I allowed this story to fall away? If I created a little more spaciousness? And no matter how many times, no matter how many times we've asked ourselves this question, we can always ask it again. We can always ask it again. Marissa's saying the sweetness, it's softened. I'm in tears, but they're also softening. Felt that. Fixer overdriver over here. Oof. Thank you for sharing your insights, Marissa. It really helps when, if you tune in here live and you're able to and you feel called to, never any pressure, please just be in your flow. But if you're able to and feel called to, when you drop in the chat, it helps me know what's resonating. And also other people that are here are like, whoa, if I'm crying too, like, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. And as we know from past episodes of The Drip, our tears are nutrient dense. And they water the seeds of our being. So in releasing this water and releasing these tears, perhaps you're creating space. It's like when the rainstorm comes and then the next morning there's sunshine, and maybe even like, or not even the next morning, like when there's a rainstorm and then it ends and then the sun is shining and there's a rainbow in the sky. My dear sister Ash actually it put this on the altar for me the other day when we were doing a reading together, of just like, remember, after the storm the rainbow comes, the sunshine comes. So applying that metaphor to your tears, after this storm, after this clearing, things often do feel more settled. There often is space for more potential. So if you've been needing a space to really like reset, rinse, and clear, I'm going to speak to this epic 3-day virtual boot camp and retreat at the end of this trip. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And you can also always, for free, anytime you want, go to bloodboneandhoney.com, go to the blog. There's now like 11 blog posts with 11 different videos, 11, not more than 11, because there's a couple of prompts for each video, a bunch of journal prompts, a bunch of movement prompts, playlists galore for you to tune in with, work with, and resource in your practice. And it's been my prayer for quite some time now that that exists as a free living practice library. So know that's there, resource it as it feels good. And then if you're ready to opt into an experience, we're going to talk about that at the end. So, okay, this is the last part of point number 3 here, which is meeting your blocks as portals. Stop trying to fix the block. We've got our little snake friends here. And these snake friends want to say that the snake venom, the snake poison, also becomes the medicine. And if you need to have your mind blown and know a little bit more about that, I recommend doing some Googling today. I also love that, like, it's like these snakes are rising from like this circular base. This is giving me big like root chakra, sacrum, bottom of the spine energy. And it said that Kundalini sits at the base of the spine, this Shakti goddess life force energy. And when it starts to awaken, these 2 white snakes actually come up the spine, and they're said to make contact with their tongues at the 3rd eye, activating our capacity to vision and accept that we're actually as multidimensional and gifted as we secretly or privately know ourselves to be. So I think it's pretty profound that imagery is also coming forward and pointing to this process of awakening. And think about that. Think about 2 white snakes curling their way and entwining and weaving their way up your spine, and then their 2 little tongues stick out. and they activate you right at the third eye. That's the kind of relationship I'm speaking to when I invite you to be in relationship with your life from this place of deliciousness, from this place of understanding that it's all a part of the process and the journey. And while your journey of awakening is unique, there are also things that we all experience on this path. Um, and and we get to come together to explore that, to exchange codes, to swap notes, and continue to move through this passageway, which came through on last week's trip, towards our highest self revelation. So the prompt for number 3 is, how is this block also simultaneously my medicine? How is this block also simultaneously my medicine? If you'd like to drop your insight in the chat, you're absolutely welcome to. I love a good hold up my boombox in the rain and cry so much. Marissa says, yes, me too, honey, me too, me too. Like, well, actually, we're about to start talking about this kind of self-care. So I'm gonna hold that note and let that note bring us into this 3-day program. Before I say that, again, please subscribe to the newsletter. You'll receive the corresponding journal and movement prompts and practice playlist for this drip. That's going to go out this afternoon. And if you haven't yet, turn on notifications. And I am going to, again, I'm going to link this 3-day program in the description of this video. So if you want to join us, if you hear what I'm about to share and you're like, I'm in, you can go ahead and just click that, opt in, join us. We kick off on March 4th. And the cart's going to close in about 10 days. So get in early, get in while the getting's good. This is the first time I am opening the cart publicly, talking about it, mentioning it. So if you're catching this drip, get that early bird worm. Okay, so let's talk about journey and download. You are invited to journey to the well of wisdom, resource, and higher self-presence within your blood and bones in Journey and Download. The new Blood, Bone, and Honey 3-day virtual higher self-embodiment bootcamp and multidimensional self-care retreat happening March 4th through March 6th, 2022 in the Blood, Bone, and Honey Zoom Temple. This virtual boot camp and retreat is for visionaries, creatives, leaders, and light workers like you who need to stop, drop, and self-care so that they can rise to meet the next step on their path of purpose, resourced in the power of their mind, body connection, and higher self-expression. Day 1 is serving mystical PJ party, where we all receive messages from our higher selves. Day 2 is serving a meditative movement journey into the inner landscape and higher self-expression of you. Day 3 is offering art club vibes for sensual and spiritual baddies who are ready to embody their full multi-dimensional selves. And we're going to make some self-portraits together in a self-portrait ritual. So we've got day 1, journeying, PJ party, day 2, meditative movement, using a 7-step process called 7 Pillars of Higher Self-Embodiment, which I will speak more to on the retreat. And then day 3 is offering all of the art club energy. We're making sacred self-portraits. We're sharing them. We're feeling ourselves. We're feeling our whole multidimensional selves. Every aspect. No bypassing. No more blocking and cutting off ourselves from our expression. We're going in to the garden and we're coming out with some blooms. That's the energy of this 3-day experience. You can find out more and claim your spot in the link of the description of this video until the cart closes on March 3rd, and spend 3 days receiving somatic, artful, sensual, playful, spiritual, and experimental invitations into the inner landscape and multidimensional higher self-expression of you as you download divine solutions and break through historic blocks of self-doubt, self-denial, self-judgment, and self-censorship. This program is going to be for you if you're ready to hit the reset, refresh button on your self-care and spiritual practice, resource, mind, body, and nervous system regulation, resilience, and empowerment, move, make art, and meditate through your practice, and dedicate uninterrupted time to tending to the inner garden of you, and journey and download to receive your personal higher self codes of care so that you can rise and shine from your sovereign and direct connection to your higher self and the source from within you. In Journey and Download, you're going to be offered trauma, resilience, somatic, and spiritually informed approaches, methodologies, and practices for higher self-inquiry, which we know a little bit about on the Devotional Drip, higher self-care, higher self-expression, higher self-experience, and embodiment that can be utilized again for next depths of clearing, of healing, and of activation every time, and then implemented as a part of your regular self-care, spiritual, and embodiment practice. Consider this delicious and divine 3-day experience a deep clean and system reset so that from a place of encouraged and guided physical, emotional, and energetic release and renewal, you can receive the light, wisdom, and guidance of your higher self even deeper. We're going to that next layer, whatever that is for you and your unique experience. Downloading that light, downloading that light, downloading that wisdom, downloading that guidance even deeper into the temples of your body, heart, and mind. So link below to join us. I'm going to send out an email later today to the newsletter coven. I'll send the replay out, and then I'll send a separate email as an invitation officially into this experience. But if you want to get on it and join it, I just realized if you're joining live, you might not have that drip right now, or you might not have that link right now. Let me just give you that right now in real time. I meant to link this before I hopped on, but you know what? Sometimes shit happens, and that's life. So here is the link. Let's get it. I'm going to drop it in the live chat so you've got it, and then you'll receive an email shortly, and I'll also put it in the description of the video for those catching the replay. So here is the link. You've got it there. And thank you for joining me for episode 11 of the Devotional Drip, meeting your blocks as portals into your power. I'm going to reseed these 3 just as our outro. Number 1, shift your relationship with the block. Number 2, team up with the block. Number 3, stop trying to fix the block. For more, you can watch the replay, which will go out shortly. And I hope you enjoyed. Let me know how this resonated. And we have one more person in the comment who I didn't see. Let me just say hi to Rebecca real quick. Love your expression from the space of deep knowing with such play and joy entwined in. Bless you. Bless you, Rebecca. And bless you, Kate. I see you here too. And I see all the other people here who may not be able to tune into the comments. Please know that I'm sending you love. Thank you for choosing to spend some time with me. This is, again, I know I've said this every week, but it's such a gift to start our week together at a higher self-resonance, like talking about speaking the codes of higher self-love, like from your tongue and tasting that, giving this transmission quite literally like is a rinse for me as well. And it also totally aligns me for my week. So that's how we know we're in reciprocity and aligned service, when the way that we're serving and showing up is also serving and watering us. We'll let Wiggins say bye before we hop up. He says, bye, everybody. Come to Journey and Download. We'll hang out together for 3 whole days. Wiggins is the DJ for our 3-day retreat, so he'll definitely be popping in. Okay, so much love, so much love. Many kisses. Please feel free to email me with any questions, and I will see you next week, and I will also see you in your inbox and on Instagram for all of the delicious Journey and Download invitations. Many blessings, much love. May you meet your blocks as portals into your power. You are held, you are guided, you are supported, you are loved within a unified field of higher self-presence. I am with you. We are with you. We are all together. Mycelium Network, Consciousness of Earth Angels, riding high, flying, eagle eye vision, snake eye vision, heart eye vision. Let's go. Okay. Love you. Bye.